Sultan Badruddin II was a brave king who resisted European powers such as the British and the Dutch empires. Sultan Badruddin was born in the year 1767 into the royal family of the Palembang Sultanate in Indonesia. In the year 1804, he became the king of the Palembang Sultanate. After becoming king, Sultan Badruddin transformed Palembang into a powerful state and began exporting products such as tin, gold, and pepper to China and the Ottoman Empire. In order to protect his kingdom from the rising British and Dutch empires, Sultan Badruddin also developed his army and built huge military fortifications. He also removed and replaced all corrupt officials who were likely to make deals with European powers. Sultan Badruddin refused to allow his state to become a European colony and instead established peaceful trade relations with the Dutch and British empires. However, the Dutch and the British both wanted exclusive access to the rich resources of Sultan Badruddin's state. Therefore, in the year 1812, the British wrote a letter to Sultan Badruddin urging him to expel the Dutch from his state. Sultan Badruddin replied, "I do not want to be involved in the hostilities between the British and the Dutch." After noticing the exchange of letters between Sultan Badruddin and the British, the Dutch began planning a military invasion of Sultan Badruddin's state in order to depose the Sultan and gain exclusive control over the region's resources. However, the Dutch plan was foiled when Sultan Badruddin discovered that the Dutch were smuggling weapons into his state. Sultan Badruddin then seized these weapons and sent an army to the guest house where the Dutch traders were staying and massacred all 63 Dutch traders. After hearing about this incident, the Dutch became furious and blamed the British for persuading Sultan Badruddin to expel the Dutch. However, the British denied any involvement in the massacre. In order to avoid a direct confrontation with the Dutch and prove their friendship with the Dutch, the British launched an attack against Sultan Badruddin's state. However, the British were humiliated by the army of Sultan Badruddin. Because of his bravery in battle, the British named Badruddin as the tiger that could not be tamed. After seeing Britain's humiliating defeat against Sultan Badruddin, the Dutch decided to launch their own war against the Sultan in 1821. The Dutch suffered many losses. However, with the help of power-hungry members of Sultan Badruddin's family, Sultan Badruddin was eventually deposed and exiled to the remote island of Ternate, where he passed away in the year 1852.